Hi, everybody. This is Susie Liberatore, your branding expert and art director of Visions to Images. I am an art director who has invested years mastering the digital design world and was an early insider to the digital marketing space. I learned the twists and turns of exactly how to bring that physical brand presence to the online space seamless through beautiful branding design for a variety of different businesses, ranging from corporations to small businesses and even large businesses. Today, I have an amazing person that I'm sharing a story with on my podcast, and I would love for you Hey.
Hey.
All right. All right. So I'll introduce you. Your name is Jennifer Jimbury.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure I said it right. And what do you want me to introduce you as?
Business and executive coach.
Okay. All right, and then yeah, so I'll kind of guide you a little bit, and then I'll ask those 3 questions, and you can talk like when I say what are you most excited about. Let me turn Facebook Messenger off. When I ask you what you're most excited about, you can talk about your, what is it called, the 4Ds or for something.
Yeah. So the 4DX model, it's the business planning model that I use.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you can talk about that if you want for the most excited part. And I'll probably like ask or talk, like if I hear something interesting, I'll kind of jump in or ask more questions. But those are the 3 main things.
Okay. I'm going to put on my mic so the audio is nice and clear.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you guys had it in the States, that clothing store for kids. It's called Gymboree, the kids store.
Yeah.
And they also had like a one of those play gyms that you could go to with your kids. That's basically how it's pronounced, unless you're saying it the way my husband wants me to say it, which is Jimbere, which is the African version. But I think Gymboree sounds more like a party, so that's what I like.
Okay, I think it's easier too.
Oh, you know what?
What?
That's not going to work because it takes your audio out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't hearing you, so that is not going to work. Are you hearing me nice and clear, though?
I hear you good, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we won't worry about a mic.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Hi, everybody. It's Susie Liberator. Today on the podcast, I have Jennifer Gimbury. She's a business executive coach. And I'm super excited to have her on here. She has been on LinkedIn connected with me for quite some time. So it's really good to be able to share her with you guys today.
Thank you very much for having me, Susie. I look forward to sharing.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So tell me how you got started in your business and the online space.
Absolutely. So I was in corporate for about 17 years in the financial services sector. And in my last role, responsible for all of the professional development of Edward Jones Canada. So I did a lot of business planning and coaching to help those advisors get to their next level. And I was building my business on the side for about 4 years. And it came to a point where we were building a coaching department to separate the training and coaching. And it was a great launch off point for me to go all in my business. So in one of the books I was in, Dream Boldly, I Dare You, I talk about that process of taking the leap, selling the house in Oakville, moving up to a smaller city and getting it going. So
Yeah, that's a great story. I think a lot of people can totally relate to that when being in the corporate world and then kind of always doing their business on the side. I mean, I know that's kind of how I started in a sense too, and then took the jump. So there's a lot of truth to that.
yeah.
So tell me, I know we're kind of working on some fun stuff, but tell me what you're most excited about right now in your business that you could share with everybody.
I would say it's kind of, I talk about 3 levels of business. So first is financial foundations and then profit accelerator. And the third phase is growth and scalability. So I'm really excited to be there right now, scaling the business and bringing in associate coaches to help with the customer service level that I'm aiming for. And also the service Java with Jen. It seems like a really great way for us to have that introductory session to learn what is it that you really need support with? Do we work well together? And are you ready to invest in your business? So having a lot of those conversations right now and supporting people to create a plan for the year ahead.
Yeah, that's very true. Who's your like typical audience that you kind of reach for?
Yeah, so definitely teams of 5 or more. So those that are already doing, really exceptional work and are looking for that high performance coaching to take it to the next level. So they know their thing, whether their thing is, manufacturing or website development or real estate, for example, they know that, but they're just not sure what else is possible for their business. And so they might be stuck. They might not know what is the next wise step for us to take. Or they might have a challenge in one of 5 key areas in their business. And those areas usually are leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, or profits. So we zone in on one of those areas and help them shift from struggle to solution in that one area, and then see what else we can do to support their growth.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth and a lot of information that you just gave, and I know so many people can relate to it. I mean, having leads is one thing, right? But if they're not converting, that's a whole nother issue. And the profit and pricing, all of that is just, it's something every business owner has to go through at one time to kind of be able to go over and scale for sure.
Yeah, so bundling, for example, is an opportunity, upsell, downsell, cross-sell. How are we looking at those in a strategic way to make sure that we're offering, the most service that we can to that person when we're in partnership with them?
Absolutely. So did you have something that you wanted, the 4D model?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we're in planning season for those that haven't already taken the necessary steps to have a plan in place for this year. Mine was created in November so that I could be of service now to people. So the 4DX model is, there's 4 disciplines of execution. And the first one is we need to have 1 to 3, not more than that, wildly important goals. So when we have more than 3 or 4 goals, the likelihood of achieving them with excellence goes down. So what I find a lot of times when I go in and have that initial discussion about business planning is that there's like 6 or 7 goals for the year. And so we want to bubble those up to 1 to 3 wildly important goals. The second discipline is act on lead measures. So think about your own business right now, those of you that are listening, and ask yourself, am I focused on the lag measure or the lead measure of success? So I'll give you an example. I have 2 teen boys. So if I want them to not have cavities, the lead measure is to brush their teeth, right? So the lag is not have cavities. So a lot of times business owners focus on the revenue they need to bring in and or the result of this many clients supported. What we want to do instead is, what are the actions I can control to actually get that lag measure that I'm after? The third discipline is having a scorecard for your business, something fun that you have visual in your office space that as you walk by, you know, am I winning? Do I need to do more? What's happening? And it's a way to call to your attention where you're at. What is your year-to-date measure? And then the fourth is creating a cadence of accountability. So we all have great intentions for our business. And when you partner in possibility with somebody who's a proven coach, they can check in on what you said you were going to do, what you did do, and what you're going to do next, and create that cadence of accountability for forward movement for you.
Wow, that's all amazing things. I totally agree with the first, like all of it, but a lot of it, having too many goals is like the number one reason why businesses fail or you're not succeeding. Like, so having those 2 to 3 is like huge, right? Like it's, you got to have those, and not have more, because it's just overwhelming and distracting. And then the other thing that stood out to me was, I'm drawing a blank. What was the third one?
So the third one is creating a compelling scorecard. Okay.
So I'm gonna cut some of that out. But the other thing that stood out to me was the scorecard. I totally understand that. And of course the accountability is huge too, but I think that the scorecard is really big for personal development, in a sense where you can have it on the wall or have it and you can see that you're accomplishing things, because too much as a business owner, we're always like self-doubting ourselves, putting ourselves down. We're saying, oh, we're not good enough, or we didn't accomplish this, so I must not be good. And we go back and forth. But when we are able to actually see these things and have it and carry it around, we're like, oh, I can do this. I'm doing it. And then when your accountability partner checks in with you too, you're like, oh, you know, they're supporting you. You can both see that you're doing things. So really having that support in those 2 ways is really big, I think, as a business owner. So.
And it can be depending on how it's worked out. I helped a nursing home start creating a scorecard of the overage that they were throwing out in food in the kitchen. And so that simple scorecard had them saving $1,200 a month unexpectedly. It wasn't what I was there for. You know, I was there for leadership and employee training, and that's just my kind of bag of tricks. It's like I pull out what's needed in the moment.
That's awesome. That's so good. Okay. So my last question for you is, if somebody was, it's entrepreneur world, right? Like I feel like everybody's always trying to start up and stuff. If you could give anybody advice to like go for it, or what you did wrong, like tell us a little bit about what kind of advice you would give to somebody who's trying to start a company.
Oh my goodness. One thing. Okay, I'm gonna try and unpack 3 things. Okay, because one thing is just too hard. So first thing is, make sure the goals that you're aiming for are heartfelt. So Harvard did a research study about 5 years ago, the difference between hard, HARD goals and SMART goals. And there was thousands of people in that study, and those that had hard goals, which meant they were heartfelt and mattered to them, not just because they needed to create them, did better. So have hard goals. Hard is heartfelt, animated, required, and difficult. That's tip number 1. So tip number 2 would be follow those that you want to be trying to get to their level, right? It's success leaves cues. So success hacking matters. If you're looking to have business growth and
Okay. Hi, everybody. Today on my podcast, I have Mary Czarnecki. She's a marketing consultant and strategist, and she's been in one of my masterminds for a very, very long time. So I loved getting to know her, and I'm super excited for her to share a little bit with you guys today.
Awesome. Thank you, Susie. I'm excited to be with you.
Yeah, thank you. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in this world of online and marketing and everything.
Yeah, for sure. So I've spent most of my career actually working on the corporate side of marketing. So I started my career working with Johnson Johnson, and after I got my MBA, spent 10 years at WebMD. So I learned a lot about building online audiences during that phase of my career. And I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart, who happens to be a local business owner, restaurateur here in Oregon's wine country. And through him, started meeting a bunch of local boutique owners, winery owners, restaurant owners, and kind of fell in love with the entrepreneur world. And kind of at the same time found out about this whole online entrepreneurship capability. So started really organically kind of building my services and offers online. And it's been great because since having two boys, it provides more flexibility and ability to kind of be home with them for the stuff I want to make sure not to miss.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And I feel like, well, you've worked with so many great business corporations. You've got the big names for sure. And then being able to kind of have the online entrepreneur world. And I know you kind of have that entrepreneurship in you, right? Like you've always told the story about how you have it in you, and your husband obviously has his bar and restaurant and all that. So it's like no brainer for you to do it.
Yeah, I do feel like it was in there. You know, I dabbled with e-commerce, and I had built a fairly successful Amazon store when my boys were infants, because I just saw a need for the things I was shopping for. I didn't see it as available. So that was my first foray into online entrepreneurship, was actually through products and e-commerce. And then most recently just shifted to focus specifically on consulting.
Yeah, great. That's perfect. So what are you most excited about right now? Obviously, we're in hard times.
Yeah.
It's a little different. So what are you most excited about right now?
I guess the one thing I'm really excited about is the fact that what I always preach and teach about listening to your audience is so essential now more than ever. So as businesses are either pivoting from in-person services or offers or products that they can't in the current climate deliver, that idea of actually tapping into what your audience really wants and what's going on with them right now, what we call in geeky worlds insights, right? Audience insights, is more important than ever, because we need to basically, before we rush to market with something we think they want, just because we're feeling pressured, taking that moment and pausing and actually engaging with our audience, asking some questions, is so essential right now.
Yeah, that is very, very true. And I always, when I deal with clients with social media and stuff, they're like, oh, we're not getting the results or whatever. But it's like a toss up when you're on social media. It really is, because sometimes you're like, oh, we're reaching so many people, and then sometimes you're not. And it's just a toss up. And sometimes they don't generate to leads, but yet there's all of these likes and stuff. And being able to really pivot and shift, like you said, like making sure it's engaging, making sure that you're talking about what's going on in the world even. I mean, I've seen so many people have posts about the coronavirus and all that, like, and it doesn't have to be about it, but rather saying like, what are you struggling with during this time? Like, how can I help you? And being able to share different businesses. I know with the local chambers here, they're sharing all of the people that are still open for carry out, all of the businesses that are quote unquote essential, that are needing that extra boost. So being able to adjust and adapt that audience shift and engagement is critical at this time.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, normally, in normal construct of time, we usually talk about buyers in terms of like, when you're reaching out to a cold audience or a new audience, either people are now buyers, like they've already been through the thing, they know that they have a problem, they know there are solutions out there, really they're just like ready to buy, they're in the moment. But that's really going to be like 1 to 2% of the people that you're going to come in contact with. And so all of those rest of those future buyers, even before all of this started, you have to nurture them, right? We have to start the conversation. You have to get them on your email list or into your social media, and then continue the conversation. And so now what I'm seeing, and I actually got backed up by Harvard Business Review. They just published a new study, basically saying that that those future buyers that we were always talking about are now in a time of recession even kind of further broken down. So the people who are like going to slam on the brakes and not spend anything. And then there are still the people though they're still looking for a solution. They still have needs. And if you're someone who has the solution to their needs, they may just need more nurturing at this phase. But then there's also going to be those people who are not as affected, and they're still going to be spending maybe slightly less in a recessionary period, but they're still spending. Their incomes aren't quite as affected, or their, household life is, still in need of whatever solutions they're looking for. So the key is just to figure out like how those people are broken out in your audience. Like how many of those people who are still spending are you reaching, and how are you nurturing and continuing the conversation with them?
Yeah, I think that's great. You touched on a lot of great stuff for sure. So what else, do you have any other like things that you can share with the audience that are gold nuggets for right now?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things, and I was just talking about this actually with my group last night, was the goal really of now, if you're shifting, even if you were online, even if you are totally, offering services that you can still offer, really, again, going back to your audience and asking that question of what do they see as essential right now, or what are they really focused on right now? Because when you're thinking about, how consumption breaks out, you're either an essential,
Right.
you're a treat, or you're pretty much like a postponable. Like I could get to you later. And what we want to make sure we're doing is positioning our products and services, or slightly tweaking our products and services so that they become either essentials or treats, right? Because in a downturn economy, people definitely spend on essentials, and they also definitely, for our mental sanity, spend on treats. That's why things like liquor stores and wine stores are still open.
Right. Totally. It's funny that you say that, because everybody's like, they're not even essential, and I'm like, but they are. Do you have kids? Like, come on, like.
Right. We're still human. We still need those treats. So we need to figure out how to basically position our products and services and offers into those essential or treat categories. And, for some people, it's being super creative. I mean, I know I have a chiropractor in my group that was trying to figure out, okay, how do I make money? I can't touch anyone.
Right.
But at the same time, he had already had, a lot of experience with different supplements. So he's pivoting to become more of an expert voice, because as people are now having to order supplements online.
Yeah, you got to shift it a little bit.
Right. What are they looking
back? You're just going to shift it for the time being, and then eventually you can always add that in later as well. So just kind of changing it a little bit.
Yeah. So looking at what your expertise is and really and tapping into that.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I think that when you were talking a little bit ago too, talking about how nurturing your clients and stuff, I noticed even before this kind of virus thing hit, a lot of times when you talk to people and you can nurture them, they don't always buy the first time, or it takes a little bit. But then eventually, like once you're in their circle, or they're in your circle, however you want to look at it, they start to see you, they start to build, and then they come back to you later. I don't know how many times I've had people come back to me like a year later, 6 months later, and say, hey, I've been seeing you around all the time. Let's work together finally. So all that will come back around, especially when this starts to end. And that's why it's so important to nurture now more than ever.
Well, and also people want to work with people that they trust, like, and it's, if you shut down now, if you become silent and you stop showing up for your audience, that lack of visibility, that lack of engagement, that lack of support when they're in need is going to stay either subconsciously or consciously in their mind when it comes back around, to a time when things are, getting back to normal, quote unquote. So
I know, normal, quote unquote.
Right. So it's going to be important to make sure that you're not just like a fair weather friend. So people want to make sure that you're there for them, even when things are crazy. Because if you are trying to build authority, if you are trying to build, an expert-based brand, you have to show up as the expert and that trusted friend, that trusted authority.
Absolutely. Okay, so my one last question for you. If you could tell somebody, whether they're like entrepreneur, just starting off, I mean, a lot of people are probably trying to pivot onto the online world and stuff. What would be your like biggest tip to these people so that they can, be successful or get to where they need to be?
Yeah. So one big tip and takeaway is just, I think we already talked about the asking questions, so I won't use that as my one tip, but is to build your list, like build that community. And some people talk about it as just an email list. And for some people, the email list works, but it's build your hub, whatever it is where you're going to have a conversation with someone, whether it's an email list, a Facebook group, a Reddit thread, whatever it is, but build your hub of people where they can really get to know you on a deeper level and get to know and trust you. It's not only a benefit for you because it becomes your research pool. You can listen and hear what they need, but it also is a way for them to get to know you as more than just a name on a website.
Yeah, and I think authenticity is so important, period, no matter what time frame, what you're going through, whatever. It's just so important, and people relate to that. So building, like you said, building with on a deeper level. And people love my son. People love that I'm a single mom and have an autistic kid. So they like love seeing all that stuff and connecting with me on that deeper level because they get it. So really defining who you are and showing up to your audience is huge for sure. And you got to start somewhere with your audience. So you can't be shy and you can't be scared. Just be honest and just be you. I mean, that's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes.
Okay, well, I will put your bio and your links and people can connect with you. I'm assuming I'm in your Facebook group. That's a great group. If people want to jump in there, that's a great thing. But I also know you have a few freebies as well.
Yeah, so one of the things that has been really useful right now is a lot of people, as they're trying to build their list, are trying to figure out what that free offer is.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a freebie that helps people walk step by step through how to create that first lead magnet or next lead magnet if they're pivoting. So be happy to offer that to your audience.
That's awesome. I think everybody needs that no matter where they are in their business. Sometimes it's great to just revisit it as well.
Awesome. Cool. I'll make sure to give you that link.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.